First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of CNU congresses. And we are at CNU 31, but it's actually the 30th anniversary of the first Congress. And it's kind of like birthdays. If you're 30 years old, how many birthdays have you had? You might say 30. No, it's actually 31 if you count the actual birthday. And the birth of CNU happened in 1993 in Alexandria, Virginia. This is the well-known photo of the founders. The people who are often considered the six considered the founders on the right side of that photo, but others are in Peter Katz's book, The New Urbanism. But there are actually well over 100 people there who all could be considered founders in a way. And what they were trying to do was figure out what this new urbanism is all about. And they had this crazy, ambitious idea that they were going, a small group of people was going to change the entire direction of planning, built environment, development, land use planning, and design for America. And at that time, of course, it was this juggernaut, still is, where an enormous part of our economy was devoted to developing essentially sprawl and also knocking down urban places and cities. And they wanted to bring back the ideas of city building. So the first three Congresses were really about all that. They were different from later Congresses. In essence, it was like getting everybody in one room and everybody could talk, could be part of the discussion, every discussion. And they had devoted a Congress to each of the scales of the new urbanism, the block street building, small scale, then the neighborhood, district corridor, and finally the region, city, metropolis, town scale. And from that came the charter of the new urbanism was written, the principles or the philosophy of the new urbanism, which was then adopted and signed in Charleston in 1996. And from that philosophy, then the Congress has changed. And the idea was really to grow this movement, get more people involved, even as all the ideas, the great ideas of the new urbanism were being developed over many Congresses. As these ideas came into the fore, the Congresses, they were presented at the Congresses. I remember the time the Transect was first presented. I believe that was in Toronto. And then you had form-based codes presented at Congresses, early form-based codes, and the transit-oriented development. That really wasn't a thing until the early 2000s. Freeways without futures. All these ideas were hashed out at various Congresses over the years, but it wasn't just the ideas that were changing. The world around us was also changing. Things happened like 9/11 or the 2008 housing crash, which was a cataclysm that affected the built environment in a huge way, the economy, the world economy, and there was really no money available after that for any big projects for a long time. And so new urbanism had to adapt or die. And many ideas came out of that adaptation, such as missing middle housing, that diagram by Dan Perolic at Opticos, incremental development, tactical urbanism, but also suburban retrofit came out around that time. And even though there was probably not a lot of funding for it, it grew and became a bigger thing later. So CNU has evolved. The big idea is that CNU has continually evolved and adapted to changes internally based upon the principles of the charter. So what comes next? This is what we're